Jesus took Peter, James, and John up a mountain to pray. And, here in Brunswick, we don't exactly have a high mountain, but we are on a hill and, kind of the highest point around. And, in the Old Testament and really the history of all peoples, to go up a mountain was to go to a holy place. It was to go to a thin place where you could, really access the gods. Really there's a thin barrier between heaven and earth, and it was just a place of encounter with the divine. So, in the tradition, in the Old Testament, and even in Jesus' day, to go up a mountain was to encounter his Father. And he takes Peter, James, and John up there, certainly, for his own sake, but ultimately for their sake, thinking just along the lines of what's going on in his ministry and the challenges that were to come. He knows that not only Peter, James, and John, but all of his followers, all of his disciples, and even us, as we have known him thousands of years later, all of us would come to this time where we would be overcome by darkness and doubt. You think about the disposition of the disciples after Jesus had been crucified before the resurrection. I mean, how overwhelming must that have been to have put all of their trust in him for those years following him as his disciples, only to have him be killed by the Romans. So, he knew this darkness was coming. He knew that doubt would possibly overwhelm them. And even as they experience his trial and crucifixion, doubt creeps in. And, we see Peter's denial, and in that moment, how could Peter deny Jesus? Well, ultimately, it would have to come down to the fact that he doubted that following Jesus in that moment was better for him and better for all than turning away from him. So, Jesus takes Peter, James, and John up the mountain and was transfigured before them. In this moment of Jesus' encounter with God the Father and with Moses and Elisha, it's also an encounter for Peter, James, and John, that they can see ahead of time a glimpse of the glory that Jesus would experience, and a glimpse of the glory that Peter, James, and John, and all of Jesus' followers would participate in after the resurrection and the coming of the Spirit. So, for us as well, as we, have merely begun our journey through Lent, it's an opportunity for us to take that transfiguration in the context of this season, that truly the glory of Easter is coming, but more importantly, it's an opportunity for us to take that transfiguration in the context of our whole lives, and recognizing that Jesus has prepared us and prepared, his word for those times of darkness and doubt, those times where we don't, truly believe that to follow him through the challenge, through the darkness, through the doubt to the other side is really better than walking away from him. We have these moments of encounter, with him in the Word and with him in our lives to remind us of the glory that we will experience on the other side. And, we need to reflect back, kind of like the disciples would have in those challenging times, to remember that Jesus was transfigured before them. We need to go back to those times in our lives where we really did encounter the Lord, where his mercy was so clear, so abundant, so obvious to us, especially during those times of darkness and doubt. In order to get through them, in order to really experience his mercy, one of the most helpful things is go back and remember those times we went up the mountain, the times he was transfigured before us, the times we experienced his mercy, so that as we continue our journey, whether it be through the season of Lent or through these seasons of our lives, we might look forward with great hope and expectation to the glory of the resurrection.